Hey, y'all, welcome to the Mike Miller Show. This week, we're going to have kind of a theme discussion. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world with regards to racism, both superficial and real. And we're going to discuss those things. We're going to try to contextualize them. And we're going to start that conversation out with a reading of Fredrick Douglass and the Dred Scott argument that he so eloquently put forth. And then we're going to talk about Camille Foster on Bill Maher and with Van Lathan. We're going to talk about the canceling of Donald McNeil. We're also going to talk about San Francisco schools and that one country music singer got canceled for screaming the N-word with an A instead of a hard ER. And we're going to recircle a discussion that we had on a show that didn't air about illegal immigration because I think it fits into the context of this. But first, Fire Team Designs. If you find yourself in need of a shirt with my name on it, my face on it, that's the spot you go for that kind. Or a vacuum sealed tumbler with my face and or name on it. Also, that's the place you go.
I think everyone needs one of those.
If you need a mask with my face on it, that's the place you go. Fire Team Designs. Also, if you don't like my face, that's fine. It's an acquired taste. They have other things. You can customize your order, and you can get a nice hoodie, or a vacuum-sealed tumbler, or a t-shirt, or a mask, with basically whatever design you want on it that isn't my face. Like, let's say you want a mask with a dick on it.
Oh, God.
And they can do that. Like, I'm sure. Like, I haven't asked them or whatever, but, like, I'm sure they could do that.
Don't ask them that, Mike. Don't ask them that. Please, for the love of God, do not ask them.
Is what I'm saying. Fire Team Designs, they are consummate professionals, unlike myself. It's the place you go. Also, they support Operation Wolf Eyes, which is protecting women who've been abused and kids who have been abused. And they're out there hunting down pedophiles like a bunch of G's. We love those fucking guys. We support what they do. If you hate pedophiles and you like my face, those two things are probably related. Go to Fire Team Designs and check out their sweet merch. And moving into the episode, so Casey, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. A little perplexed as to why someone would want a dick on their mask, but you know what? It's 2021 and things make no sense. But other than that,
I'm saying. Good. I mean, people are doing that these days. You know, think outside the box, man.
I hate to be like the pessimist of the group, but I have yet to see a dick on a mask, and if I did, that would require instant throat punching. So it's bad enough if you want to walk around with a face diaper on, fine, whatever, my germs and all that bullshit. But if you should walk around with a dick on your face, you deserve to be treated as such. So we'll move on from that.
What if it was like an existential like message? Like, oh, wearing this mask feels like wearing a dick on my face.
You know what? I can't even process that. But for some reason, we have the propensity here on the Mike Miller Show to make dick pics great, dicks on masks. So who knows? It may pick up traction. But I'm going to vote hard no.
You know what? I've never even put our propensity towards dicks together before.
It's happening. It's building. There's a theme here.
It's building. There's a theme. Yeah. I'm going to cut back on that because now it just feels like I have an infatuation with dicks.
It feels slightly gay, but we'll work through it. We'll work through it. I
What a
got your
fucking
back,
great way to start the Mike Miller show.
dude. You know what? We can't even plan to go into this because when we do, we're worse. So at least like this has a little more semblance of normalcy, but we'll make it work.
We'll make it work. Hey, everybody, if you'll notice, Joe is not here. And he's at work. Last night, he had when we were supposed to record, he had some car issues that he had to get fixed right now. So he wasn't able to do that. You know, even though this bastard has like 8 cars, but it's cool.
Exactly.
Whatever. Anyway, we won't talk shit about Joe while he's not here.
No, we wait for him to be here for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start out this episode. Like I said, we're going to start out with a little bit of Fredrick Douglass. And just for a little bit of backstory on this, this is the first time a black man has ever argued against slavery to the Supreme Court in U.S. history.
True.
This is in 1857.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, like fucking wow, 1857. It doesn't seem like that's that long ago. Like
Yeah.
a lot of you probably have great grandparents born around this time frame. How fucking weird is that? A couple generations ago.
And look where we are.
We're arguing slavery in the Supreme Court. That's fucking nuts, right? But this guy is widely considered to be the last founding father of this country. He's an amazingly brilliant author. One of the most eloquent writers I've ever read.
Mm-hmm. Self-taught.
Yeah, self-taught, was born a slave. Fucking like escaped, and I think like was either he killed his slave master, or when asked if he would kill his slave master, he said yes.
Actually, if I may go like a little nerdy on it, that's actually true. But he had two. He was first sent to a family that separated him from his family. He never knew his dad. He never knew his birthday. Never knew his mother. He actually started to teach himself to read out of needing something to try to take his mind out of the situation that he was in, because he always was someone that sought after more. So when his initial, we'll call him slave owner, because that's what he was called at the time, when he found out that he was reading and teaching himself how to write at a very young age, which was impressive in of its own right, he was then sent to live with Edward Covey, who was known as a slave master who would beat the shit out of you if you worked too hard, not hard enough, if you challenged him, if you wanted to read, write, or better yourself. There was no middle ground with Edward Covey. So one day, Douglass was writing, and the guy, Edward Covey, had come in and found him doing so, and he beat the shit out of Edward Covey. And after that day, this was in 1835, after he fought back, Covey had never laid another hand on Douglass after that. So when he saw that all it took was an ability to fight and the gumption to do so, he then started to urge all black men to fight for the Union Army and for the Confederacy. And he told them that they would be defending their own liberty and honor and basically upkeeping their self-respect. And the coolest part was he eventually, in 1838, he ended up getting dressed up as a Navy sailor, and he escaped to the North, and that was to join the radical abolitionist movement, where he actually started to pick up traction as a well-known speaker and writer. And once that had happened, he had bumped into William Lloyd Garrison and at first started to like him, but then quickly learned that Garrison burnt the Constitution before a speech and also believed that the Constitution supported slavery and was oppressive. And Fredrick knew better. He saw the Constitution as how it
If
was
I
meant
can
to be
jump in
here.
here,
Uh-huh.
the fucking cool thing about that
Uh-huh.
is that the original abolitionist movement was about not just the abolition of slavery, but the abolition of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like Frederick Douglass just innately knew that the Constitution was an anti-slave document.
Right.
He fucking read, like, he researched the shit out of the Constitution and developed an argument that the Constitution was in and of itself an anti-slave document. It's not
Exactly.
like he fell out with those people, but it's not like that happened overnight.
Right.
Like, he fucking developed a sound argument,
Yeah.
right?
And
So,
after that, he started to refer to the Constitution as a liberty document, and that's why he fell in line pretty quickly with the Republican movement because he would refuse to be led into believing what everyone else around him was telling him about the Constitution. And people started to listen to him. Even Abraham Lincoln would light up when Frederick would enter, wherever they were speaking, and he would say, "My friend, my friend." And even after Jim Crow laws and widespread lynching became an issue, he still felt the same. His belief was a simple one. All rights, this is a direct quote from him, by the way, all rights he believed came from the ballot box, the jury box, or the cartridge box. And then in 1893, he ended up going off script at one of
hey,
his
wait, 1 second.
lists.
Can you say that again? All rights come from where?
All rights come from one of three things: the ballot box, the jury box, or the cartridge box.
Okay,
And
go
he
ahead.
went on for many years to, keep that message. And then around 1893, he had a speech that he ended up going off script completely. And I quote, he said, "There is no Negro problem. The problem is whether or not the American people have honesty enough, loyalty enough, honor enough, and patriotism enough to live up to their own Constitution." So the moral of the story is he believed that any man, black, white, or indifferent, must take full responsibility for their own fate, and the Constitution aided them in doing just that, no matter who you were, where you come from, or your situation. And I think that's why he's probably one of the most influential and important voices of our lifetimes, because he saw something for what it was. He fought for it even when he was opposed, and the odds were a little bit against him. Let's not lie. He's a pretty impressive guy. But end rant.
And this is why he was considered the last founding father. It's because um he reinterpreted the Constitution as a liberty document. So while a lot of the slaving movement, um, interpreted the Constitution as a document that protected slavery, um, he reinterpreted it as not that. And he was able to use evidence-based claims um, to make that argument. And he made it before the Supreme Court in the Dred Scott case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and let me just do a couple of readings
Okay.
from that argument.
Go
So
ahead.
Frederick Douglass says, "Your fathers have said that man's right to liberty is self-evident. There's no need of argument to make it clear. The voices of nature, of conscience, of reason, of revelation proclaim it as the right of all rights, the foundation of all trust, and of all responsibility. Man was born with it. It was
Mm-hmm.
his before he comprehended it. The deed conveying it to him is written in the center of his soul and is recorded in heaven. The sun in the sky is not more palpable to the sight that man's right to liberty is taught moral vision to decide against the right in the person of Dred Scott, or the humblest and most whip-scarred bondsman in the land, is to decide against God. It is an open rebellion against God's government. It is an attempt to undo what God has done, to blot out the broad distinction instituted by the All-Wise between men and things, and to change the image and superscription of the ever-living God into a speechless piece of merchandise." Me, right? Jesus.
And this is a man who taught himself how to write, read, comprehend. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Under the threat of a fucking whip, he fucking
Yep.
teaches himself how to fucking write and speak like that. Suck
Uh-huh.
it, Shakespeare. That's all I have to say to that shit.
All right. Easy, easy, easy. Not suck it, but I agree. Somewhat. Shakespeare earned it too. You
I'm
dick.
just saying. God, if that's not some rousing speech,
That
you
is
know?
some rousing shit, but don't be dissing on Shaky, all right? I like
All
Shakespeare.
right. All right.
Gotta have a little love here for Shakespeare.
All right. So,
But yeah,
this is what he's talking about. He's talking about liberty as a natural right.
a man's right, absolutely.
Yeah, that means that this is not a right that is subscribed by man, but by God. And,
Mhm.
and this is exactly the language that the Constitution gives us, is that it's not a right for man to abridge. It just is. It just is something that we have naturally, right?
Mhm.
And anything outside of liberty for man is unnatural.
Amen.
And how fucking beautiful is that? And how
Pretty damn
necessary is that message to today?
pertinent, extremely. Let's see. I don't know if I have, let me see real quick. There's a part in this that I also had highlighted that I felt like you did upon reading that, but you go ahead. I'm looking for something.
So I highlighted another section,
Okay.
and that was, it is clearly not because of the peculiar character of our Constitution that we have slavery,
Mm-hmm.
but the wicked pride, love of power, and selfish perverseness of the American people.
Okay.
Now, I want you guys to think about that. It's not the Constitution. It's not the Constitution that is allowing the government to oppress you right now. It's not that. So when people steal your liberty away and they say the law gives them the power, well, the language that the law is derived from is the Constitution, and the Constitution does not give them the right to take your liberty away.
That's right.
So just I want you to keep that in mind, that it's weakness that allows powerful men to fuck you.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's not if someone's taking your business away, um, and telling you that you're not allowed to serve your customers, it's not the Constitution that's giving them the right to do that.
Right.
It's your weakness, your inability, sorry to say this, to derive your power from the cartridge box.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and no, I don't think that that's the right way to go about things all the time.
But there comes a time where we have to cut the shit and understand that once tyranny reaches a certain point, even at its lowest form, it's a danger to our pursuit of happiness and our liberty. But I mean, at what point do you have to realize that that may become a harsh reality? Not saying like we're all going to go nuts and just start, lighting shit up, but I do think there has to come a point where the opposition needs to meet the level of tyranny. Whereas right now we have so many people forgetting that they are in the driver's seat. They are to govern themselves. They have unalienable rights. They have things that cannot be tread on. And I don't know where we lost our spine in this. It's like we are built on these words. We are built on these beliefs. We are built on these rights. And to see so many just sit back and be like, oh, we're going to negate everything that Fredrick Douglass taught us and everything the founders taught us and everything that we've sacrificed for, and we're just going to watch it go to the wayside. I have a real problem with that. And my
Let's
question
not
now becomes, how do we wake people up and get them on board with this thinking?
let's not forget that liberty is terrifying.
Yeah.
Freedom is terrifying. You know, when a fucking pandemic hits and all the businesses close, and I don't have any way to fucking support my family
Mm-hmm.
legally, that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
And what it makes me want to do is lean on the government to protect me, to save me. And that liberty it's a double-edged sword, man. It says that it's not the government's responsibility to fucking protect you if shit goes awry,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's
Yeah.
also not the government's responsibility to protect big banks. It's not
Yeah.
their responsibility to protect big pharma or big social media. Not their responsibility and not their right. Government
Right.
doesn't have the right to do that, to pick and choose who the fucking winners in our goddamn society is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that I think uh can be scary. You know, liberty. It's freedom. It's a scary fucking thing.
Yeah, it can be scary, but isn't losing everything that you love and worked for and the same freedom that frightens you, not having that anymore, that should scare you more than anything. Because, I mean, let's be real, communism doesn't work. And if we think that that's somehow just going to miraculously pop up here, whether you want to call it communism, socialism, anything other than what we have will not work for this country because we were built on very different principles. We were built with rights. So I just think where we are, uh, the government basically has seeped into so many facets of our lives where they were never meant to stick their nose. And I think as the will of the people lessens because of the tactics they're using, we're just going to keep furthering the problem of dependency. And they're going to eventually just be the end all be all. And people are going to be like, oh, okay, I have a problem. Let me call the government. Like, no, that's not, no. If you have a business or if you have something that's been severely corrupted or hindered or anything has happened in a negative light to you, what you're trying to do with your family, I implore you, open your business, fight with your mayors, fight state and local level. Do not let them do things that are not constitutionally sound. I mean,
Yeah.
at some point, we need to have that conversation.
And so when I say the power of the cartridge box, that's a last ditch effort, you know?
Of course, of course.
When here's the thing, we don't even make it to the ballot box, man. We
Yeah.
don't make it
And if
to
we
town
do,
square.
yeah, but see, here's the problem with that. The ballot box is now compromised. If you
I
can't even,
guess maybe in a presidential election, but there's a reason the ballot box. Let's say, right, that that the last general election was a compromised election, right?
uh-huh.
They're not compromising every fucking city council. They're not
No,
compromising every state election. They're not
no,
compromising all of the elections that are necessary to make it so that the power resides in the people. They're not. We are doing that. It's laziness. It's
yeah,
laziness. It's weakness. It's a sense of defeat,
complacency, yeah.
complacency. Yeah. It's trust in the government. It's our and not even like you might be a person who's like, oh yeah, fuck the government. But you trust the government to, have your social security waiting for you or to pay off your student loans or to 8 million other things that you trust to educate your children. You trust the government to do all these things, but you fancy yourself a fucking anarchist. That's silly, right?
That's true.
Like you're not. You're not an anarchist, not if you think those things. I do
No, but I
trust.
really hate the government, though. Just throwing that out there.
I hate I don't like our current government, and it's not I believe that government is an expression of the people, and to be honest, it's not the government that I necessarily despise right now, it's the people.
For me, it's a 50-50. On the government side, because of how large they are, they're way past the size that's needed. There's jobs that, let's not kid ourselves, like there's probably some offices we could do away with. And then also, yes, I'm very angry and disappointed, more so disappointed in my fellow citizens. And this kind of ties into, I wish Joe was here because when we were discussing the the probability of the government coming out and saying, we're going to try to take your guns. Joe had a very, very strong and resounding, and it's been the same answer every time we've discussed this. He said he believes in his fellow Americans that they wouldn't let it come to that, essentially. But with what I'm seeing in the past year, I don't have too much faith in that. Now, I'm not saying that I don't believe my fellow citizens would, stand up and fight for their rights, but it's like, what will it take? Does it have to take our gun rights and laws to get you to that point? Or can we maybe just try to understand that both sides are fucking up, whether it's the government or the people? There's not enough action by the people, and there's too much action by the government, which is not supportive or even really portrays what the people need at this point. So I feel like it's a mixed bag. I don't think it's just the people aren't doing enough. I think the people are definitely lazy, but I think the government is playing on that, and they've created these people. They've created this. They've handed this situation out because, hey, it's easier to collect money or whatever else you're looking for from the government than to go out and get it yourself.
Yeah. And
And
that's
you
the
have
thing,
shit
man.
like social media coming in. And, they play on these weaknesses. You got people who don't understand guns talking about wanting to take them away. Anytime there's two different people with two different skin tones, it becomes a racial topic and not just two humans trying to come together and be like, here's an issue that we both have. Let's keep our skin color out of it. I mean, it's just a never ending cycle. And it's like, we have to start figuring out where we can cut these cords or at least minimize the toxicity so we can have a chance. Because the way that I see it, the American people right now have had their head held underwater for far too long without being able to come up for air. And if you want to stay in that position, keep doing nothing. But I mean, everyone right now, everyone should be fighting for what they believe in, especially at a state and local level. I mean, I can't
Yep.
implore that enough.
And here's the thing, right? With that, I want to warn against violence, against direct democracy. I'm not a person that believes necessarily in direct democracy. And let me read a little bit from the last reading from Fredrick Douglass. But I think when he's talking about radicalism, I think it's something we should pay attention to. Right? So Frederick says slavery lives and flourishes best in the absence of civilization. A dissolution of the Union would shut up the system in its own congenial barbarism. Right? So, with that, I think what he's saying right there is that let's not be so quick to want a dissolution of the Union. Let's not be so quick to want radicalism, to want radical change. I don't want radical change, and I don't think you do either. What I think we want is a government that is representative of the people.
Yes.
And you're right. When you say that like people need to be working at the state and local levels, they really do. And we need to be a country and a podcast and a people that talk about that. That say, hey, wherever you are locally, find out who your city council is. Go to a meeting. Figure out what the fuck they're talking about.
Be in that conversation and don't be afraid. I think a lot of people, where they mess up, they think, I don't know enough or I'm not politically geared. It doesn't matter. Be in the room. Know what your city and state and everyone's doing, what the plans are. Be on the same page. And then you can implement change once you know what the topics are, what your qualms are. The biggest excuse I get is, oh, I'm not politically geared. I don't know what I would say. You don't have to say anything. Put your ass in a seat and figure out what's going on. And if you don't like it, speak up.
Hey, just, to caveat on what you're saying, I've talked to the boards of Fortune 500 companies, and I've talked to high-level government officials, and I sit on the internet and make dick jokes. So, just FYI, you're not too stupid to have a conversation with your local city council. Trust me, they're plenty stupid.
Very true. Very true. There's a lot of stupid in those buildings. Trust me. I mean, come on. We're not that
Yeah,
bad.
those that can't do teach, and those that can't teach do government.
Oh God. How did we get here? I'm sad.
For sure. Like, don't be scared. Trust me. You're going to walk into those city council meetings, and mark my words, people, listeners that go to your city council meetings, mark my words, you're going to be sitting there like, what the fuck are these bitches babbling about? And then you'll know. You'll know you're not too stupid to be in the room, but unless you're in the room, you won't know that.
That's right.
You know, and let's talk about some of the stupid shit that city councils do. So, or local government does. So, San Francisco School Board, which is local government, which is something that you can go sit in on, you can be a part of, school boards, right? They decided to shut down something like, or to rename like 30 fucking schools.
44.
44 fucking schools. Right? Because they had names like Abraham Lincoln Elementary School.
Yeah, how dumb is that? Can we just take a moment of silence for stupidity? Because literally Abraham Lincoln? I mean,
We're going to be
really?
taking Abraham Lincoln's name down off of school during Black History Month.
Like, can we enter Twilight Zone? We've literally hit levels of fuckery that we may not recover from, dude.
It's the woke-pocalypse.
It's Woketopia, and I don't want to live here. I don't want to live in Woketopia.
For a second, moment of silence for how fucking ridiculous that is.
5 whole minutes. Here's my question, though. Before we even like really get into the crux of that conversation, I just have like a little old question. So, all right, I'll play along. We're gonna change names on 44 schools of generals, whatever, whoever they're gonna be, right? Now, how much money is that gonna cost the people for new signage, mascots, repainting the fucking building? I mean, couldn't this money go towards getting the schools reopened and making people understand that Abraham Lincoln wasn't the enemy? I mean, could we start there?
Could we start by educating people?
Yeah, could we not just jump into this like, yo, I'm the surgeon who knows nothing, but I have all the answers. And this sounds like a good idea. Like, no, dude, this is the worst fucking idea I've ever heard in my life. And I'm sorry, it takes a little bit more for me than the name of a general that I might not have liked to get into a conversation of why I'm offended. Like, this is bullshit.
Now, I want to make a point, just so that any liberal listeners we have don't think that we're just bagging on them and how fucking stupid they are. Just so they're not fucking screaming at their computer thinking that we're both ignorant pieces of shit. I'm going to say something, right? And a lot of people are not going to like it. A lot of conservatives are not going to like it. The founding fathers weren't 100% good people.
Nope.
George Washington had fucking slave teeth. Like, literally had teeth ripped from the mouth of a slave turned into his false teeth. That's not a good person, right?
Okay, that's not. No one ever said that having slaves' teeth was. Never mind. Just go ahead. Do you?
Okay. So I'm not sitting here arguing that everyone that we idolize in this country deserves to be idolized for every behavior that they've ever fucking exhibited in their entire life. It's not about them as a person. It's about them as an act. It's about what they've accomplished in their life, what positive things they contributed to American society. Right? That's what we're honoring. When we honor people like George Washington or Abraham Lincoln, or we honor your liberal, Zions, when fucking Nancy Pelosi has a fucking school named after her, you're going to be honoring whatever fucking contributions that person made to your cause or, to your country or to your community. And that's okay. It's okay. Martin Luther King, you know, is a man who was a devout socialist who um cheated on his wife
A lot.
a lot. Uh but he's American Jesus. Like he's the Abraham Lincoln of the civil rights movement. He is a fucking, like, if you were to put Martin Luther King Jr. on Mount Rushmore, no one would fucking argue with you.
Probably
Nobody.
not.
And it's not as if all those things that he did that were wrong didn't happen. It's that in the fucking in the balance, they don't fucking matter. They don't fucking matter. When the country was ready to fucking blow up under fucking race war, when you had people on fucking buildings with fucking rifles killing fucking cops and blowing shit up,
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King Jr. had a fucking another way. And he made shit work within the fucking system. He kept the system alive. He kept the country alive. That's what fucking matters.
Yeah. Preach.
He did that, right? Like, that's why if you put him on a fucking elementary school, no one has any right to say shit.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
Well said. Well said. And if I may, I know the whole George and his teeth thing wasn't really that great, but he did hold slaves for 56 years of his life, but he did always struggle with the thought of slavery, especially as he got older. And he made the decision to free all of his slaves by 1799, I believe it was. And he was the only slave holding founding father to do that, to let them all go. So I think, again, I agree. A lot of these people who they see a name and they correlate it with one shit take on why someone's mad at them or why they may not agree, or, something that really was wrong in history that we can't change now. But if we didn't go through these things, we wouldn't know how to address them. We wouldn't know how to see them now. We wouldn't be able to rationalize. So if your biggest issue today is seeing Abraham Lincoln's name on a building, I assure you, you're in the wrong fight right now. Because your country is crumbling around you. I think that's the least of our problems.
The American Revolution. Let's. Okay. So here's the thing. I don't care about George Washington's fucking fascination with slaves. Don't care. That might be unpopular, but I don't care. I'm not going to call the guy a fucking great. I wouldn't want to. I might not necessarily want to fucking have a beer with a guy that owned other guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Right? Here's the thing. Here's the gravity of what George Washington did with his fucking life. Right? He developed the age of reason. The American Revolution sparks the entire rest of the 20th century. The entire 20th century happens as a result of the American Revolution. The 19th and 20th centuries happen. The age of oppression of colonial powers ends because of the American Revolution. Do you realize how many fucking lives George Washington saved? It's so fucking many.
We might realize this, but spoiler alert, right? No, they don't know this because they either weren't taught it or they just don't care, Mike.
It's just, it's so fucking stupid. It doesn't matter. It's like, what size pants does Steve Jobs wear? That's how little it fucking matters in the fucking context of American history. Of world history. It matters so little what these people did with their personal lives. It doesn't matter at all.
Can I just say, I love seeing you this hyped up.
There's nothing that hypes me up more than people talking shit on the founding fathers. Because it's like, you're so fucking ignorant to global history that, like, I want to slap you all day. I just want to slap you and fill your head with information.
Amen. Amen. Oh God. I really am glad I got to witness this today. Made my heart smile. It's making my heart smile. Joe, you're missing out, dude. Oh,
So
fuck.
that's where
I just I need a shot.
right.
I wonder why we bring whiskey onto this podcast. Well, you know what? Sometimes that's the difference between losing your fucking apple cart and keeping it together. So,
Yeah.
oh
Like,
God, hey.
look, man. Okay. So without me yell ranting, let me repurpose this conversation. Okay. So the American Revolution sparks the French Revolution. The French Revolution sparks revolutions all over Europe, is what develops European democracy, right? So, like, a lot of these people don't understand that, like, the concept of a republic and a democracy were thought to be stupid. So, like, everyone knew about Greece, everyone knew about Rome, like the Roman Republic, right?
Right.
And everyone was like, oh, well, that shit fucking fails, so we can't build a country around that. So we relied on monarchies and we relied on empires. Okay, they were thought to be the best forms of governance. And then the American Revolution happened and America kicked everybody's ass,
Yes.
right? And then the French Revolution happened and the French kicked everybody's ass. And then basically all empires fell worldwide, right?
Yep.
And there were revolutions. That's why if you look, like, go look up, all right? Just look up the dates that certain countries were founded, like the founding of Italy, the founding of Germany, the founding of England, or not of England. England's been around for forever. They just fucking got their shit together. Um,
They just got their shit together.
right? The founding of like all Asian countries, all South American countries, like the founding of fucking countries all over the fucking world, right? You look at those countries, right, and their founding dates, and what that represents is the date they broke away from fucking empires that own them. That you look at India. India has billions of people, and they were controlled by like 1,000 fucking British people. That's how little power it took to control a country. As That's how much people believed in empires, how much people believed in the God-given power of the monarchy. Is that Britain was able to control all of India with like 1,000 fucking people for like 100 fucking years.
Right.
So that's what America ended. America ended that. So you're welcome, rest of the world. Like, for giving you the fucking gumption to say maybe a fucking king and queen 1,000 miles away from me isn't who I should be taking orders from.
Exactly.
For giving
You're
you the
welcome,
fucking
world.
concept of reason and liberty. You're welcome.
Yes,
World.
you're very welcome.
Okay, that was not supposed to turn back into a rant.
Well, that's okay. I'm glad it did. I'm proud of you. It needed to be said, damn it.
It needs to be. Look, American school children need to hear this rant. This is a rant. You want to talk about what you should be proud of America for? That's what you should be proud of America for. Self-governance around the world.
Amen. I love that answer.
And if you want to know what you should be terrified of, it's a return. It's that self-governance, the end of self-governance has been a project of the elite for the last 100 years.
True.
Right? Since the beginnings of like huge wealthy capitalists, they've been talking about, well, how do we fucking create a power center in the elite of the world and take the wealth of the people? How do we end the era of self-governance effectively and over time? That's what you should be scared of. You should be scared of globalism because it means that you'll lose, right? Like right now, you can go to your city council, you can go to your state government, and you can change this country. This country can change. Just like those fucking Redditors changed fucking Wall Street in a week. You don't understand how powerful you can be if you just work together. And these idiots gave you the fucking tools to do it. They gave you the same tools that they want to spy on you with, the same tools that they want to use to communicate their systems of control to you. You can flip around on them and you can communicate with each other. And you can end this. You can end the attack on self-governance, the attack on reason, the attack on liberty. You can end it by just using their own tools against them. It's guerrilla warfare, baby.
There you go.
You don't have to pick up a gun. They've given you all the tools you need to legitimately seize power. Amen. Do it. Do it.
You just the only thing is you just have to do it. The first step is taking a first step. And that's where we can't fall. But I think with everything that you just said that most people, again, are not aware of or they're ignorant to, once they have that in their belt, I mean, there's no way that you could tell me that that shouldn't light a fire within you. I mean, we have what we need to combat it. So why aren't we? Once we get to that point, we can. And I do agree with you. Violence should always be the last resort. But I hope that we can get there sooner than later because
and
where we are right now
I think
fucking frightens me.
Let me tell you why I think violence should be a last resort.
Go for it.
It's not because I believe that the Second Amendment doesn't exist specifically for that purpose, for break in case of emergency, because I do. And it's not that I don't believe we're in an emergent crisis right now, because I do. The reason that I think violence should be a last resort is because violence is revolution. And I love this country, and I love what we've built. It hasn't been going wrong for that long, right? Like, we were on track in a lot of ways to do really fucking good things.
Yeah.
And revolutions essentially mean the destruction or the dissolution of that.
Right.
For something new. And what's new could be communism, like in the case of the Bolsheviks. It could be a return to the age of reason, like in the American Revolution. But the fact is that we don't know. And that it's just as likely that the AOC crowd propagates revolution as it is, or the Donald Trump crowd propagates revolution. And who the fuck knows what the country looks like then?
Right.
Who the fuck knows what a direct democracy? I mean, because I think a Donald Trump revolution might look like a direct democracy. It might be that a Donald Trump revolution is a cult of personality with Donald Trump at the top. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to think.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that you could go all the way from tyrannical authoritarianism to communism in a revolution. And right now we have in America a system of governance that is maybe I think the best system of governance ever created in all of fucking human history, and the entire fucking world adopted it.
I agree.
So, excuse me, people, my anarchist friends out there, my people, right?
My people.
My punk rockers out there. Excuse me for thinking,
I
right?
hate you. I hate you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That a violent revolution is not what we want when we have a system of governance that works, that is proven, that is beautiful, but is corrupted. What we need is we need to scour out the corruption. We need to come together as a people behind the government. We need to know how this government works. We need to know how to root out our corruption. That's how we
I'm
fix
on
this.
I'm on board with that, and I think it's beautiful. But also, how much longer do you think we have? I mean, the longer people sit back and they don't take that chance to walk into like a city council meeting or, go be up their mayor's ass or their governor, which my governor hates my ass, but I don't see with how quickly this has escalated in a year's time, not even 365 days later. We're seeing some really ugly shit being thrown at we the folks when we're the people who are supposed to have the final say. So my little itch inside comes from the fact that yes, okay, we may still have time. No one knows how long that's going to be. And I'm sorry, I'm not the type of chick that's comforted when I see shit like, oh, well, HR 127 or HR 5717 or Pocahontas Warren's gun bills. Listen, I'm not comforted in that. So that when that happens and they start going door to door or they start talking about going door to door, I might have to join the punk rock crowd, man. Just saying. Because, like, I'm a law abiding citizen. And listen, I will play your game all day long. But once it becomes to the point of the very last bastion of freedom, which is our guns, I have a problem with that. And that's what worries me. So if
All
we
right.
could get people a little bit more motivated, then I'm on board with your message 100%. Otherwise, it's about an 81%.
I agree. And you know what? If they come to take my guns, I'm shooting them in the face.
Amen.
Don't care who you are.
Now, you do know you're going to get a visit for that, right? You're going to be on a watch list of some kind. It's
Okay,
happening every day.
you know what? I've said that a number of times on this show.
Uh-huh.
Look, you're not coming to take my guns. I will fucking kill you.
That's right.
Period. Now, if you're willing to die, you can do that. We can play that game. But mind you, I'm not on here advocating for violence.
Nope.
What I'm on here advocating for is freedom, liberty.
And
That's what I believe in. Right? And I believe in getting that liberty within the system of government that we have. I do not believe in revolution. I am not a revolutionary. I'm a conservative,
yep.
which by its nature makes me not a revolutionary, right?
Again, we're going over things that I think people might hear for the first time, or they're unaware of what this all means.
Yeah. So, what I am saying, to be very clear, is that I think it is much, much, much harder than you do to take this country. There's a reason why the elite have taken 100 years. It's because they've been slowly easing what the plan is to boil us. Like, a frog in soup.
Like,
That's the plan, right? But
I kind of agree with you, Mike, but then like look at just the littlest things like the mask and
I
the
want you to look at Reddit, right? Look how quick did that fucking take off?
all
How
right,
quick?
so they fucked up Wall Street. I get it, but like you also got to look at the other flip of the coin ski. All right, it took a fucking few weeks for everyone to now have masks permanently stretched across their mean mugs. I mean, some people are wearing 3 of them. Like that's not freedom. That's not an American. You're not going to question, you're not going to ask why, you're not going to want better. especially when they're proven to not work. We have so much work to do that, I mean, we literally need to start with the truth. We need to sit down with folks and see where they're at before even giving them the information, and see if they're even open to dialogue or learning another way, or what we may consider the right way. And I'm not saying we have all the answers. I'm not saying we're over the target every time, although I'm a little biased and I think we are. But I just think that it needs to start at home. We need to revamp education, and we need to get a backbone, man. Because otherwise, all this shit that we're saying, it's not going to matter a hill of paint if we
It's
can't
got
do
to
nothing.
start by making your own bed. Look,
Well, yeah, every day, make your bed in the morning. I agree.
man, I'm a veteran, right? And it means a couple of things to me, right? It means, firstly, I am a person with principles. I am a person that is willing to step outside and defend those principles, right? It means that I am a monster when I want to be, and I know that, right? Which means that I don't have to be.
Right.
Look, I don't know if you've ever read or listened to Jordan Peterson.
Uh-huh.
But he says something kind of important. Embrace the monster inside you.
Uh-huh.
Realize that there is a line that you can't cross, or I will fight physically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It's okay to have that line. And a lot of Americans have that line. Right? See, that's my point here, man. It's not like I'm alone, because I'm not.
No.
You come to take my guns, and we're going to have problems.
I agree.
But that's not just me. That's most Americans that have guns. That's a lot of Americans that have guns. At least enough to make it fucking dangerous to come take our guns.
Agreed.
I'm not saying anything crazy or radical. I'm saying that I'm willing to fucking protect my own rights, my own constitutional rights, by force. That's what I'm saying. And you know how I've proved that in the past? When I signed a fucking oath that said that I would protect our Constitution by force. You should know that. I fucking signed and pled the oath to you, government.
Are you familiar with Admiral William H. McRaven, U.S. Navy SEAL?
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to touch on when you said about making the bed in the morning, he actually made a very great speech about just that and the message that you were kind of just portraying. He said, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed every day. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, another, and then another. By the end of that day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life do matter to you. If you can't do the little things right, you will never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you should have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made, and a bed made gives you encouragement that tomorrow can be better. And I think that was one thing that my dad had me listen to one day that really struck a chord, and it's true. It's true.
Why I
If you
make my
take the
kids
little
make their
step,
bed every day.
well, there's more to it than just pulling up some covers. And I think if
know.
we start to look at everything in that light, like we look at the littlest things as mundane activities or that they mean nothing. But truth be told, that there's so much in every little action. And I mean, if you put good energy into something and good thinking and positivity and you want something better out of everything, that'll show through your actions, no matter how small or big they are. And I think that that's also a starting point for most folks. Once you establish the small steps, you can easily achieve the bigger ones. And I think that's something that we're missing out on.
Martin Luther King Sr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dad, Martin Luther King Sr., right? And that dad, he was a small man. He, in his community, he took care of his fucking church. He was a reverend. He raised a son. He lived a life that where he took his responsibility seriously and he did his job, right?
Right.
And he raised a son, and that son changed the world.
Yeah.
Now, how much of that do we give to Martin Luther King Sr.? Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do with my life. I want to be Martin Luther King Sr. I
Yeah.
might not be Martin Luther King Jr. I might not change the whole world, but by doing a good job with my corner of it, maybe that changes the world, you know?
I
Like
agree.
maybe that inspires someone.
Of course.
You know, like that to me is important. You
As
know,
it should be.
and you're right. It starts with making your own bed. Making your own bed means seizing something that you have control over and putting it in order.
That's right.
That's what that means.
Yep.
And and you have control over your local government. You have control over your household, what you teach. I don't give a fuck if you tell me that public schools teach your kids all kinds of wild shit. Fuck you. You're their parent. You have access to them all the fucking time.
Thank you.
Teach them some shit that's going to blow their mind a little bit.
Yep.
Let
Amen.
them listen to my rant just now. There was a lot of cursing. But I would say by and large they'd be better off for it.
Yeah.
Look, I love our history. I love who we are as a
I
country.
agree.
And my son is going to learn that. My daughter is going to learn that. And my kids are going to be proud Americans. And I don't give a fuck what a public school has to say about that.
Good for you. Love that.
That's I mean, but that's your control. You have that. That's your corner of the world. Fucking put it in order. Like,
Hmm.
I just don't get how people don't get that they have power.
Because they've been made to believe they don't, or they've gotten too lazy. We've been over this. I mean, there's a few, I think, toxins in that, that need to be fixed. But again, it's going to boil down to those that want to wake up, they want to make their own bed, or see to it that the people under them do the same, and for the right reasons. And until we all want that, inherently want that, because we love our country, we love our freedom, we love the people around us, then we have some work to do. But once we reach that, and we take that power back, and we walk into these city councils and we teach our kids what they should be taught, and we're not ashamed in it, well, then we're going to make headway, and then we can, keep doing what we're doing. But again, we have to figure out how to bring all these things together. But a lot of this starts within the person. Every person right now that can hear my voice, it starts within yourself. No matter what you want out of it, whether you're right, left, or indifferent, I don't care. Just know what you want and go after it. But my God, please, for the love of country, let it be for the best for your family, yourself, and those around you. And if it doesn't serve you, them, or freedom, then you might want to reconsider.
Agreed.
And again, you and I talked the other night, and I'm going to say it again because I've been hearing it all week long. And especially this morning, people were super pissed and like kind of joking about it. Like, yo, why didn't you get a podcast up? One of the reasons that I joined in on this, because anyone who like knows me on a personal level, they know I hate everything about audio, recording, photos. I'm very much a ghost. But one of the reasons that pulled me into this is because of the type of shit that we just talked about. And we do it from a human place. And no matter who you are, whatever side of the political spectrum you fall on, or even if you're politically homeless, you have a place here. You have a voice here. You matter. Like, your freedoms matter just as much as mine do, even if we disagree. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the three of us coming together. Because not only do we want what's best for one another, we have ways to attain that. And we can believe in each other and push each other and maybe show each other how we can fix things. And if we disagree, we can bring that to a table in which we can discuss it like adults. And I think this needs to happen so much more. I really do.
I 100% agree with that. It's what I want this podcast to be. I want it to be a home for people, all
Right.
Americans, whether you're a liberal, whether you're a conservative, like she said, whether you're completely politically homeless. I want it to be a place where we can come and discuss things, and you don't have to feel ashamed to have any kind of political ideology that you have. I don't want to make you feel wrong for that, whatever that is. Like, I don't care if you're a complete radical. I'm never going to be. But, like, if you care about your country, if you care about what our future is, I want you to have a home here.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean that sincerely.
yeah. And I care about you, and it is because you're an American. Like, I care about that. I care about the fact that you're an American. I believe that Americans should come together and love each other. You know, like, really. Like, we don't have to always be fighting each other. We can come together, and we can do the things that are best for our kids.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
their kids and their future kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Hey,
can be somewhat of a pit bull and I can be abrasive or somewhat caustic, I guess, to some folks, but I say it all the time. I will always open the door for conversation up until the point where you become an ignorant asshole. Then I'm just going to have to be like a semi dick. But I'm still open to hearing what folks have to say because if we don't have these conversations, no one's going to do it. You think the elites are going to do it or the politicians give a shit? They told us to eat cake. So please bring your opinions, bring whatever you believe in, and we can either learn from that or somehow just try to meet in the middle and see where we go with both sides. I mean, that's what we got to do. We got to put this bullshit aside, figure out what's important, relearn our history the right way, and not fluff it and worry about how it's going to offend someone or how it may not sit well with someone. No, we need to have these conversations.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about shit that was happening now. Um, do you want to talk for a second about Donald McNeil while I look something up real fast?
Sure. Which where do you want me to start with that?
Just talk about how he got canceled.
Well, he was a veteran science correspondent in the public face of the New York Times, and a lot of his coverage was the coronavirus. But there's a really good article about it by Mark Tracy and why he got shit canned. Although I'm not even really sure why they're gonna say because they're saying it's a criticism of past behaviors, current behaviors, a podcast. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, to be honest.
So what I heard is
And
that
the
he
racial
used the
part.
N-word in
Yeah.
discussing um racial communication on a cruise.
In Peru in 2019. It was said that it was on the trip, and was it? What I think we're saying in terms of racial slur
Yeah, I heard it was the N-word with a hard R.
with a hard R. Okay, because I'm seeing different answers in that. Like he sort of said it, or he didn't say it all the way. Like I don't know how you kind of say it, but whatever.
Yeah, you fucking said it. Anyway, let's assume that he said it. It
Okay,
just makes it easier for the conversation,
go
right?
for it. Mm-hmm.
All right, so last week, Camille Foster,
Mm-hmm.
who is a libertarian, he is a guy that does the Fifth Column podcast, which is a libertarian podcast. He is a person who refuses to identify himself as black, right?
Yes.
That's his thing,
Uh-huh.
or that's one of his things. He wouldn't want me to say that's his thing. It's just
No.
a thing that he does. He
One of
says,
yeah.
I am not a black man, I'm a man. And to call me a black man is to pigeonhole me into something into an identity that I don't necessarily subscribe to.
Okay.
I think that's the best way that he would describe it. If you know Camille Foster, if Camille Foster happens to listen to this at some point in time, please correct me. All I'm trying to do is accurately display your point of view. So, I'm a big, just FYI for anyone listening, I don't like expressing other people's points of view as my own. It's something I'm kind of wary of because uh, it terrifies me to think that I would falsely portray someone else's point of view, even if it's a point of view that I disagree with, because I'm trying to have an honest conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was on Bill Maher. He said a bunch of stuff about how race only fucks up conversations, like
Yeah.
conversations about poverty or conversations about law enforcement. When you say cops are racist, that only serves to fuck up the conversations about how cops use excessive force,
Okay.
right? Like
Uh-huh.
when you say um cops use excessive force on black people because they are racist, when that is your narrative, it fucks up a wider point of view that says cops use excessive force because they are understaffed, undertrained, and
Overwork.
overworked, and put in a situation in which they drive from a middle class neighborhood to a lower class neighborhood, and their job is to police behaviors. That all of those things contribute, in my opinion, and in the opinion of Camille Foster, in my mind, to police violence,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he talked about those things. Talked about how, um, you know, racial issues in education, in healthcare, in a whole wide array of fucking things. Um, how race only serves to complicate those issues.
Yes.
And then he did something interesting, and he had a BLM supporting um, professor on who
Mm-hmm.
got at him on Twitter and was like, I don't really agree with you. He
Right.
had him on the Fifth Column podcast, which is one of the most listened to political podcasts in the country.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's name is Van Lathan.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they had, to me, one of the most interesting discussions on race that I've ever heard. Um, Van Lathan talked about um, how being black in America is its own experience, and how justice needs to include some kind of a uh, repensatory quality,
Mm-hmm.
and that slavery was fucked up and Jim Crow was fucked up and uh, mass incarceration is fucked up, and America needs to do something to make up for that. Needs to at least say sorry in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with Van Lathan on that. Like, black identity in America means something.
Of course.
And it means that you have grievances against this country that are real. Uh, and I just wanted to point out that conversation and point out that podcast and say you should go listen to that podcast because it is good. It is a good podcast.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So insofar as the message that he made that they need a sorry of some kind, or you know whatever they're looking for, which I don't really know what that would be. I mean, what do you give people that are no longer oppressed by these things and are treated as equals, but they're buying into rhetoric that's causing a divide all over again? Because the way that I see it, no reparation or no deliverance of me saying the word sorry to someone is actually going to take the anger or the hatred or the fear, whatever that may be down in their heart, like that has to come from within them, I feel, first. And am I saying that they don't deserve some kind of, sorry in present day? No. I think everyone has learned from what has happened, and we don't deal with those things now. And there are leading factors to certain situations where people get in trouble. It shouldn't be because of the color of your skin. It should be because you chose to do the wrong thing. And now I know that's going to come across really shitty, and we'll have another discussion on that where maybe I can word it better. But I think if we can't get past the point where we stop looking at race as part of the very first thing that's in the equation, we are all human beings. We all go through extraordinary struggle. Okay. We all have situations that we wish went better, but we have to be the starting point for that. When you come into a situation with a police officer, okay, yes, there are bad ones, but more often than not, you are the deciding factor if you go home that day. Okay? It's not like they just pull out a gun and shoot you as the media would want you to believe. That's just unequivocally false. And I do not believe it. Now, I'm saying it's never happened. It's happened, and it's not right. But this is another conversation that I think we're going to have to break down in much more time.
Agreed. Because I have my own ideas about, law enforcement and the justice system and systemic racism that I could talk about. And I would want to have that conversation with you because I think me and you will somewhat disagree.
Oh, we definitely are going to. But respect.
Yeah, totally. I think I just want to say that's a conversation that people should listen to because Camille Foster is a person that I think has a really interesting take on race in America and the problems that exist. And he takes a more holistic view of things than most people. And if you're a listener to this podcast, I think finding that episode and listening to it would do you good. I think it is the smartest version of a BLM argument that I've ever heard, and the best argument from a more conservative person that I've ever heard together. And I think it fits the quality of the type of arguments that I want to have on this show. And yeah, that's where I'm at on that.
Okey-dokey. Really quickly, just what the fuck is going on with Syria? Where do you think this is going to end? Why are we sending more convoys into Syria?
Here's the thing about that is I don't know. Because you have America, Russia, Syria, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, who are all interested parties. Oh, and Israel, who are all interested parties in that conflict. And until I realize what side we're fighting on, because, I mean, we were fighting on the side of the Taliban, and then we were fighting on the side of ISIS, and we're fighting on the side of the fucking Russians.
We're so boned.
I have no idea. And I don't think anybody really does. I think when we stop supporting Saudi Arabia, we're getting back involved in peace talks with Iran. I think we might be choosing my quick guess is that we're choosing Iran in the Iran-Saudi Arabia conflict in the Middle East. And that might be the side that we're getting back involved with in Syria. We will see. So yeah, that's where I'm at on that. I think America does have some kind of interest in the Middle East. We have spent a lot of blood and treasure there,
Right.
and I just don't know if we are going to continue to support one crazy radical religious country or the other. And to be honest, I don't care. I just don't want any of my friends to die there. So, cheers.
Amen. Cheers. Cheers,
And that's
cheers.
where I'm at on that.
All right.
In terms of everything else, I wanted to have a conversation about illegal immigration in the context of race, but I don't think we have time today. I think we should have a conversation about the justice system and about illegal immigration. I think we could have both those conversations in about an hour. Um, I'm interested in that,
Okay.
and yeah, I think I'm about ready to wrap it up. If you are,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
It's been a good show.
I agree. Although I do miss Joe, I'm gonna send him some Gorilla Glue and see if he wants to use it on his hair. But hopefully he knows
Okay. Well, you have a great rest of your day. I need to go make sure that my son is on a Zoom call because that's how we live life.
Nice.
Um, you have again an excellent day, and I think we're out.
All right. You do the same.
All right. Mike Miller Show, out.